intimacy, union, independence, boundaries, and empowerment. If these are themes, challenges, or experiences in your life, this episode is for you. Please sit a while and enjoy the journey. Hello, and welcome to Inner Bloom Meditations, a podcast for all the things that help us reflect, understand, love, and grow. An audio space for you to relax and ground from the high energies of daily life. A place for you to bloom into your highest self. Today, we're going to be continuing our journey through Khalil Gibran's masterpiece, The Prophet. Over our last episodes, the ones that weren't affirmations, we followed our protagonist, the Prophet himself, as he began his fated journey. He finds himself surrounded by community and loved ones who wish to ask their parting questions of him before he goes. Having just been asked of love, we move into the next beautiful question and answer. So, without further ado, let's dive into the beauty of Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. Then Al-Mitra spoke again and said, "And what of marriage, master?" And he answered, saying, "You were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. Aye, you shall be together even in the silent memory of God. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heaven dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together, and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone, even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow." Yes. May we, the pillars of the temple, the trees, the mighty oak and sacred cypress, grow and grow and grow as we are held in the hand of life. Amen. Now that we've been exposed to this beauty, I invite you to take a little time gathering your thoughts, reflecting, or even journaling what might have come up for you. Just like with movies and shows and books, there's something magical about the first exposure and what arises within us then. So, I'll leave some extra space here. Feel free to pause if you want or need, and then we'll begin to explore these words and their beauty in depth together. Again, we are invited into another deep beauty, another dazzling facet potentially overlooked in this well-known topic. In sharing this book with people, I often tell them the names of the first 3 poems, On Love, marriage, and children, letting them know they are so very different than one would anticipate or expect or assume. Khalil speaks to topics which many of us know, have heard of, or been exposed to time and again, but seems to breathe fresh life into them by approaching them from often unexplored directions or empowering often underemphasized aspects of these seemingly all too familiar topics. And so, as in the poem of love, he helped move our attention away from just its sensualities and pleasures, asking that we open our hearts and minds to the beauty and power of love in the ways in which it not only grows us, but prunes us, and how important that is for our greatest good, that we may become sacred bread for God's sacred feast. All these things love does unto us, that we may know the secrets of our hearts, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. So beautiful, so beautiful. And may it be so. May we know those secrets. May we become, or rather realize, the ways in which we are a fragment of life's heart. Amen. And in being this fragment, we realize the importance of union and also the importance and empowerment of our individuality as the facets of the jewel that make the gem beautiful by their ability to be distinguished, their contribution of reflecting light in yet another way, another angle, another direction, even as they are of the same gem. So too does Khalil tell us to reflect the light and beauty of life in our own ways and find those ways, those new ways in which light can be reflected from life and all of its beautiful parts, including this one in this poem on marriage, our follow-up to the poem on love. And so before we dive too far into this poem together, I think something that's come up for me since our last episode on love is this, I guess, almost kind of a worry as to how this comes across, these episodes and this sharing of this book that means as much as it means to me. In episode 0, I shared how this book has been so impactful and has become a guide to life for me. I find comfort and wisdom and guidance in its words, and I'm hoping to share the same empowering words with you, and maybe you too can find comfort and wisdom and guidance. But in that, I would love to kind of share and be explicit in this, in saying that I am not necessarily an expert, right? I am not a licensed therapist or really anything of a title, except that I am a human having a human experience just like your own. And I'm here speaking to my reflections and observations and those that have been shared with me, hoping that they can help you in the ways that they have helped me. If something resonates, I hope that you take it with you and it empowers you. If some things don't, I hope you come to know yourself more through acknowledging that it doesn't and maybe an understanding of why it didn't. But that being said, I would love to continue this journey with your footsteps beside mine if you still wish to continue in this journey through the human experience with me. So, let's start at the top here with the opening words. You were born together, and together shall you be forevermore. In its essence, I believe the prophet is here speaking to the unity of all creation, how we are all petals of the same eternally blooming flower, made of the same universal substance, contributing our threads to the tapestry that is all existence. In this choice of words, being born together, I feel as though he is referencing marriage as the beginning of a new era, a rebirth into a new identity. Something interesting in this poem, too, is how it doesn't just feel like he's talking about marriage in the romantic sense, but also the people whom we enter into deep union with across our lives. Again, as if we are in union with all of existence, petals of that same flower. He then says, "You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. Aye, you shall be together even in the silent memory of God." Again, emphasizing how all exists in oneness, how we all exist in oneness. I really find some wisdom and some beauty in that phrase, "when the wings of death scatter your days," especially emphasized in the way it follows a phrase that ascribes to us our own immortality. Together you shall be forevermore, right? So when death greets us, those wings scatter not our love, our unity. In truth, it does not even say it scatters our life or our life force, but our days. It grants us entry into a timeless place where days and the concept of them are behind us, right? Where time as a construct is behind us, and where we come into the silent memory of God. And as it said, God speaks in silence. Then, in this last line of the stanza, he says, "Let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you." This transitions us from our loving acknowledgement of our eternal indivisibility and into the fruit of consideration for us to enjoy, to glean seeds from and learn from, even lean into this new perspective. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. This becomes the theme, the canvas around which the rest of these words paint our pictures, giving color, texture, and beauty to the shapes and forms and power of our independence as it becomes interdependence through union. Borrowing these words and these terms from Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits, one of my earliest reads on self-cultivation. And speaking of cultivating, our very next lines ask us to do just that for each other in our marriage. Fill each other's cup, give one another of your bread, sing and dance together, yes, and be joyous, right? All of these ways to cultivate the joy and love, the exuberance and expressions of them to each other, each so beautiful and fulfilling. And he couples each phrase with a caveat, an admonition, a suggestion made in earnest. Fill each other's cups, yes, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. So that this way, in each moment of enjoyment, right, enjoying the drink of this cup and this bread of the earth, right, our joy is not dependent on the other, that as they eat or drink or feel fulfilled, we need not only experience that joy vicariously through them, but experience our own fulfillment in harmony with them, in tandem, in simultaneity with them, right? That we not, and they not, need be mindful of our enjoyment, knowing it delays or prevents that of another, of each other, right? But that we are empowered in our enjoyment as they are in theirs. And these experiences of enjoyment, they can exist side by side and hand in hand. In a time in which codependency is such a common term and a common experience, I think this poem, right, these words and these ideas have so much to offer. As somebody who myself has definitely, definitely navigated the terrain of codependency, this emphasis on empowered independence leading to empowered union seemed and still seems so brilliant, but especially so when I first heard it, right? To think of the beauty of that individuality in union as being strings on the harp, or rather the lute, that we are very much connected and two parts of one thing, yet it is still our differences, or at least our differing and independent identities, qualities, and characteristics that allow us to play that beautiful music together, right? That together we can be so much greater than a single note, a single string, right? We can grow into a chord or a composition or a symphony as we expand and bring each new part of ourselves to the fray, but again, as ourselves, right? And something that's coming to me now, actually, just a whole new thought is let's let this one unfold together. Is I think the beauty of a stringed instrument, of any instrument, is that it is no less the instrument that it is when it sits silently. Its potential is still as limitless as ever, right? Able to be tapped into when the time is right. And I'm sure many of us, me certainly, have struggled with thinking we need to be productive in all moments, or maybe and that our value shifts or changes or decreases when we are not productive, right? Or creating. But as Khalil will say later in this book, let me double check. As he says later, here it is. Who is he that can offend the spirit? Shall the nightingale offend the stillness of the night, or the firefly the stars? And shall your flame or your smoke burden the wind? You think the spirit a still pool which you can trouble with a staff? Right, the spirit, right? Spirit is this large, bountiful, beautiful, all-encompassing thing, and we are that, right? To see and feel and know that we are part of immortal spirit, of limitless love, of boundless being. What is there I could do to make myself less the beauty of instrument that I am, that we could do, right? Even when not being played, the instrument is no less the instrument that it is, right? It is still, and we are still, very much the thing which the maker has crafted and molded and poured love, beauty, and intention into, to be exactly what it is and is meant to be. And you are exactly who and what you are meant to be. So let us play songs of beauty and communion, bringing our perfectly made instruments together in song and praise and uplifting. That feels good. Man, as somebody who is so new to this, as somebody who is so new to creating in this format, in this way, it feels really good. I want to share and communicate that, I hope that this that is being shared, that this voice that I speak with and these things that I channel and reflect, are going out into the world and offering beautiful notes and beautiful keys and chords to be added to the symphony, right? That is the symphony of life. In this moment, that is the symphony of your life, right? Be it that it could bring you a bass line to be a foundation, a percussion to bring a rhythm, right? A woodwind or, right, brass, to bring hope and inspiration and empowerment. Whatever it might be, I hope that it's doing that. And I can speak and say that it's doing that for me right now. As I mentioned in the last one, in the last episode on love, I'm grateful to you for existing out there in the world and being a person that I can even just imagine exists and imagines that this can reach, right? That I can open up this flower that is my heart and let this pollen or these petals or even just the color of light reflecting on it and bouncing off into the world and knowing that it could reach you, looking forward to it reaching you. And in this moment, now that you're hearing it, experiencing joy that it's reaching you. Thank you. Let this gratitude in me pour out and flow. Let this cup that is overflowing fill yours. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really am so grateful. Yes. So the poem, the prophet goes on to say, and stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow. And what comes to mind is those beautiful temples with strong columns and pillars, right? Open air, right? Not walls closing out possibility or possibilities, but the open heart of a temple accepting and receiving all in love, right? And what a beautiful reminder that we are mighty as the oak and sacred as the cypress is, right? Too easy can it be sometimes to think or feel that we are vines growing along the tree, right? And not the tree itself, dependent on that other being and nothing without it. But we are in fact mighty and strong, with roots deep, trunk firm, and branches high into the heavens. Amen. And so it is, and so we are. In fact, there's another writing by Khalil Gibran. If you haven't noticed by now, I look to this man and deeply and with much admiration and respect and connection and love. And he has many written works outside of the prophet. many poems, many pieces which share much deep beauty. And there is this, I think I want to share this because this idea, right? I know that something that can come to mind for me as a counterpoint, right? In thinking we are the tree itself and not just a vine, right? In saying that we are not dependent on that other thing, right? And that it is untrue that we are nothing without it. I would love to share this other poem, right? Because something that comes up for me and therefore I think may come up for others is this pushback against that, right? This feeling in us that says, I am, dependent on this. Maybe it is this idea of God, right? Or this idea of the universe. And this is to a degree true, but I want to pull it in and share something with you that reminds me of my own godness, our own godness, right? That we are God and we are the universe, right? And Khalil has beautiful words in another work that is relatively unknown that I would love to share here. And I think it even goes very well with this theme of trees, right? So let me find this for us real quick. So it would turn out that the piece is actually titled God. And it is beautiful and worth your time, certainly. A very short read, but about the length of this poem that we shared today. And so I won't read the whole thing, but I would love to share a quick synopsis and these last lines. In it, he goes and climbs a mountain, the holy mountain, in fact, and speaks with God, and essentially speaks words to describe their relationship together. And in the beginning, he says something of subservience, right, to God. And God exists in silence and goes away, essentially. And 1,000 years later, he speaks of himself as this separate creation created by God, right? And distinct from. And again, silence and departing. Even from there, he goes back and describes himself as the son, right? And like the child of God, and says the things which he will later inherit from God. And again, silence and passing. And then finally he says, and after 1,000 years I climbed the sacred mountain and again spoke unto God, saying, my God, my aim and my fulfillment, I am thy yesterday and thou art my tomorrow. I am thy root in the earth and thou art my flower in the sky, and together we grow before the face of the sun. Then God leaned over me and in my ears whispered words of sweetness, and even as the sea that enfoldeth a brook that runneth down to her, he enfolded me. And when I descended to the valleys and the plains, God was there also. Oh, I feel my cup so full, and I feel my body, my feelings so full and so connected. And I hope that this brings something similar to you. I hope that all of this sharing and reflecting is bringing light and love and life into your life. And with this feeling of deepness and fullness, I think this will bring our exploration of this poem together to a pause, though not an end. These words are here for you to revisit whenever you want or need. And even outside of this. I hope their beauty echoes in your life as you live it out in beauty and presence. So thank you so much for being a part of the Inner Bloom community today, gracing us with your time and presence. I hope you stay around long enough to to grow some roots, right? As the oak and as the cypress that you are, right? If you enjoyed today's episode, received any love or light or joy from it, please share it with a loved one, helping this flower to bloom yet another beautiful petal. I would also love to hear your reflections and connections over what we've explored today. Feel free to share those on our social medias, especially our Instagram at Inner Bloom Pod. That's Inner Bloom POD. I'm also offering free body, mind, and spirit tarot readings to the first 100 followers there. So join us and let's share these stories of blooming together. If you'd like to carry the energy of the golden flower with you, first off, it is always with you, always. And if you would like to carry it with you in a physical form, I have designed some really, I think, great merch for you. Some shirts and hoodies and stickers linked on our IG or at shop.innerbloompod.com. I'm pretty proud of those designs. I like the minimalism of them. Plus, the clothes is super comfy, so treat yourself, right? If you'd like more spoken content, I'm working on exclusive meditations for example, abundance and peace and joy for our Patreon and Coffee. I'm also recording a full audiobook of the Prophet, so you can be gently inspired and empowered by its words from beginning to end. And speaking of beginning to end, I think we've brought ourselves to the end of our time here together today. We'll be back on Thursday with this gentle space to bring you guided affirmations over these same themes explored today. And then we'll be back on Tuesday for our next poetic exploration, picking up where Almitra left off. Till then, I'll be manifesting all the love and light into your lives and looking forward to hearing your stories. Until the next time, may you be blessed in all of your ways and all of your days. Thank you.